Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Fanvil. Today's host is Tommy Lee, and he is their Vice President of Sales in North America, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Tommy will answer them at the end of today's presentation. Tommy, I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
Thank you for the introduction, Julie. I appreciate your time. Welcome, everybody. Today, I have a brief presentation which is going to go over a very important solution that we're bringing out into the marketplace. As you note from the cover page that you see in front of you now, next to Fanvil is a new brand called Linkvil. And what we've actually done is that we realize that as the partners out there, everybody can get really confused about looking at all the different part numbers. I mean, you know, you see that the X's, the Y's, the V's, the T's. I mean, if you name it, it's hard to kind of remember these things. So what we decided to do is to create sort of a sub-brand. And what Fanvil decided to introduce is a sub-brand called Linkvil. And what Linkvil is going to do, it's going to really introduce our entry into what we call wireless communication marketplace. It's going to go far beyond what the product I'm going to introduce today, but really a whole series of products so that when you encounter wireless communications, in this case primarily Wi-Fi, you're going to really hopefully think about Fanvil or Linkvil underneath it and be able to see a whole slew of solutions. So what I intend to do is really just to kind of go over this and give you a quick overview about what we plan to do over the next several months. So I'm going to introduce Fanvil and Linkvil. Again, Fanvil has been around for quite some time, but we're also going to introduce and debut the W611W. There's another wireless phone that's going to debut, which is our first product into the wireless space. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Fanvil, I just want to provide one slide giving you a quick overview. I mean, we're basically a manufacturing company that really provides audio and video endpoints. So when we say endpoints, these are all the peripherals that really touch base with all of the users of the world. There's tons of technology, but ultimately, the technology that touches the person's fingers, the voice, the eyes, they all have to do with some hardware. You know, take it for example, your PC, your mobile phone. We do the same, but primarily under a SIP-based interface. So if you're dealing with a SIP-based technology, which is really the upgraded standard that everybody's using for communicating both audio and video, we build the endpoints that go ahead and fit into that. The great news is that we're actually merging in and becoming, this is our 20th year anniversary, and we build for many different brands, companies, and solutions moving forward. For those who don't quite necessarily understand our full solution, we actually have a whole line of different solution sets that we want to go ahead and present. What we have doing is that we've gone ahead and actually wanted to present 4 separate different lines of solutions. What we have is really starting off is our SIP business phones. And these SIP business phones is category 1. They obviously cover many different solutions here, including our XU products, our X product line, and very introduced recently our V series product line. Beyond our business phones, we also have something very specific for hospitality, because we also realize that it's the new technology moving forward, and we're finding a big growth in the hospitality space where people will put in many of this cloud-based or premise-based PBXs and requiring in many cases SIP endpoints, whether they'll be portable for auxiliary type usage or perhaps more of the desk type usages for desk phones and desk and things like that. Beyond that, we're also making an entry into door access, intercoms, and public addresses. What we have here is really a slight snapshot of a brief presentation on our intercom products as well as our door access security. Not only are these really ruggedized units that we develop for the outdoors to handle high temperature and low temperature ranges, but we also have indoor stations as well. These indoor stations are really enhanced indoor stations that provide a wide screen without the necessary look of the classic business phones. Many years ago, people used to put business phones on the wall to accomplish these things, but what we've done is that what people really want to look at is a larger screen. You want to see whether or not the person's in the front is actually the pizza delivery person, the utilities person, and be able to respond accordingly, like pushing a button and being able to open a gate if you want to. And these are all stations that we actually have, many different flavors of them that you can go ahead and see. Next is public broadcasting, which is a very popular line. This is what we call the ability for us to put SIP and have it work on any analog interface. So take for example, if you want to do public addressing, you can go ahead and use any of these gateways to really convert a SIP call into an analog-based PA system. You can use these units to really bias an existing, Bogan or Viking amplifier that's sitting out there and be able to make whatever announcements. But the purpose of this particular webinar really starts surrounding our wireless product. And this is our first wireless product that we're going to introduce under the Linkville brand name. And this is what we call wireless. Why do we do Linkville in the first place? It's because when you look at many cars, it's, you want, take for example, if Ford puts out a car, people call it Bronco or Mustang. And then within each of those specific brands, they have other models within those brands. It's a lot easier way to remember. But we'll go ahead and talk about this in a little while, but you can actually combine all of these different peripherals and have it managed through our device management system. We have a cloud base that you can tie all of these systems together and manage upgrades, do resets, and do remote diagnostics, all from one central location. That's really great. But if you're also working with an existing provisioning tool on your PBX, that's great. Stay along with it. And you can have them work in conjunction when you use this to kind of supplement those particular new tools or new opportunities that aren't necessarily present on the PBX. So you can work them in conjunction like that, or but if you want to dig into details, feel free to give me a call. We're also globally present. We've done numerous exhibits and shows like that. For the shows coming up, of course, we always attend the channel partners, IT Expo, all these different security type of platforms, which is ICS West. You name it, we're there. And if you happen to be present at one of those shows, feel free to come out and look for us, and we'll be more than happy to join you. Okay, now we talked about the Linkville. I talked a little bit about it. Let's get right into our first debut product. What I'm going to share with you now is really the roadmap of Linkville. And what I wanted to do is when you outline all of the things that are in teal right now is really the products that we have in line. And those that are background in gray are what we call our existing particular technologies. And the existing technologies, we have things like analog push to talk type of functionality where people can go ahead and function with walkie-talkies, and you can go ahead and talk about all these things that are all controlled under basically an analog interface. What we're doing now is really converting a lot of these technologies and moving into the SIP interface. If you look at top here, I'm going to talk about the Wi-Fi phone today and really outline this unit here, coupled with many of the other push-to-talk. Now, keep in mind that this Wi-Fi phone that we're introducing also has push-to-talk technologies versus having something exclusive with it at this point, which is really going to be controlled by our pending Wi-Fi base stations and things like that. This kind of gives you an idea of the whole spectrum of solutions that we're going into that support Wi-Fi. Why is Fanvil going into this, or why is Linkville going into this? Is because wherever you go, it could be the corner candy store, your local bowling alley, to businesses. Every place has their own Wi-Fi access, and that's really a wide growing point where people have access and easy gain to the internet. And while you do that, people then all of a sudden have an access point to having a Wi-Fi unit that you can bring your own Wi-Fi unit along with you as you see fit, okay? And coupling with that, even in lowercase, we have these console modules that if you happen to have all of these things managed in a control screen with our device management system, you can manage a whole network of products, moving forward. Now let's talk a little bit about our Wi-Fi portable phones, okay? With this, I want to introduce, the W611W designed for mobile working. People often tell me, why can't we just use a mobile app on a cell phone? Of course, you can do that, But I'll be very frank with you. For those that do that on larger companies, there are many employees who don't want to use their personal phone to be shared with business. You know, for many people who do that, some do, some don't. Many people want to compensate, but want compensation for that. You know, I know quite a few people or companies that hand out, for example, partial payment on their mobile phone on a monthly basis, just so that they can use their monthly calls. Again, it's really a personal decision, but what we have here is really a wide handset that you can just throw into your backpack or in your suitcase or in your bag and just be able to carry with you and go on demand some of the things that you can call in and not necessarily, you know, intrude into your personal space, which makes things very, very clean. It also complies with many of the hardware specifications that we've done in our outdoor stations, because it does comply with IP67, which really specifies the outdoor ruggedness and in it being able to handle dust, water, and all that. I'll show in the future. We actually went to some expos where we actually display this phone working with a vase that was submerged underneath water, which is a pretty good idea. And coupled with that, I mentioned earlier, there's a PTT button, which is a push to talk button that's located right here, so it can function like a walkie-talkie. And I'll go ahead and talk about some of these things and some of the advanced features that we have moving forward. Now, as I showed us, we actually have a keyboard that shows the push to talk button. It also comes along with a belt clip and all that. But the great idea is that it comes along really with a screen that you can go ahead and comprehend. And the feedback that I get is, gee, wouldn't it be nice if you could add function keys? Well, guess what? Our software actually provides you with quick access to quick 16 function keys. And I'm going to show you how it's done moving forward. The great news is that on the bottom of this phone is a USB-C port. Now, all these things come with a stand that you can mount on it, and it ends up working, which is great, but you don't need to bring your stand with you. You know, when you travel, the less bulk you have, the better off. And so at the bottom of this phone is a USB-C port where you can plug it into any of the new USB-Cs and be able to charge this phone wherever you go. And you can find many places with auxiliary USB-Cs that will give you a full 9-hour talk, as well as, you know, 200+ hour standby. Those type of specifications weren't specified before, but nowadays advancements have gone a lot more. Now, coupling in with our desk phone, we also put in all the necessary codecs, everywhere from Opus all the way to G722 and G711. We want to make sure that all these specific codecs that you're used to on an on-premise basis with your desk phone come along with you with a mobile unit. Now, you can use this in office, outside of office, wherever you actually have access to Wi-Fi, then all of a sudden you'll be able to get these type of solutions. Then I talked about the protection levels, you know, where it actually provides some resistance to water, being able to have drop resistance. We know that this thing has been dropped to approximately 1.8 meters height. For those in the States, that's almost like 6 feet high off the ground. So when people carry this on their belt clip or on their hip, you know, it can take a fall and not worry about, you know, damaging and all that type of stuff. It will still continue to work, which is great. Then, of course, there's power. In the very first generation of Wi-Fi phones, this was the great enemy, but now all of a sudden, due to advancements, we're able to really support 9 hours of talk as well as 200 hours of standby time moving forward. And so you can tell that this is something you can carry on with you for your entire shift, hold the talk all day long, as well as it being able to hold on standby for those periods that you're not necessarily doing it. But what this thing is capable of doing is really encountering a full day of talk and as well as standby usage. And in terms of being able to operate, you can really operate in many different locations. This is just a quick example. I'll just go through one or two of these things. Now, in a typical healthcare environment, nobody stays behind a desk. You have nurses and doctors and everybody else that has to move around inside the particular campus. Besides having a mobile phone, which is something that mostly everybody in the world has, you can carry something like this, log into your secure system, and being able to communicate and carry all of these things from one spot and move around that entire office. Of course, you could supplement that with our intercom systems, our access door units to really restrict access to personal areas, in addition to having business phones that may complement those type of needs as well. When you go into the enterprise, the same thing. Here you could end up using or start deploying our Wi-Fi access points, which will be coming in the future. But then you could provide these same type of measurements, moving forward, where you could have intercoms and access points moving forward, while also even providing access points to saying you might have cameras located all around your enterprise system, and you can pick and choose what camera you want to see here and provide access capabilities to each one of these particular units. Then, of course, you have the back warehouse. And in the warehouse, if your business happens to have one, you can have cameras that look into it, and you can actually have Wi-Fi access that access all of these different things, coupled with our access points that will be coming in the future, that really provide mobility wherever you are. You can be on these forklift trucks going everywhere you want to. And the idea here is that mobile access, now you don't have to run to your desk. You can pick up a call wherever. You can go ahead and page. And yes, it does have texting capability, which will provide, I'll talk a little bit about that moving forward as well. Now, one of the interesting things I wanted to do in this webinar is I wanted to provide some basic setup tools so that you can go ahead and see what everybody kind of looks at. And this is something that I want to go ahead and supplement and provide you a quick 1, 2, 3. I'm a person that's not too crazy about reading user manuals, but I just want to show you some things that might be able to save you a lot of bit of time moving forward so that you can go ahead and save a lot of time. What I've done is actually provided a case where I can show you a picture of our phone. Now, I have to apologize that the text is kind of reversed and goes backward, but you can kind of get a better idea. As I looked at it, when you first get this type of phone, the first thing you want to do is connect to the internet. And when you connect to the internet, you press on the input button, and you go into what we call the setup screen, which is the middle button here. And once you do that, you really page down, you go here to really the wireless LAN access, or WLAN. And when you do that, you press the center, you'll end up seeing a lot of different things. When you look at option 4, you look at available networks. And when you press available network, it will actually scan your entire surroundings to see what SSIDs are out there. Obviously, because we actually have an SSID called Fanvil. But once you enable that, it's going to prompt you with a password, and you're going to be prompted with a screen that's going to give you numeric codes. And you can actually toggle those numeric codes using this pound key right here to be numeric, capital, or lowercase letters. And then you can spell out your password accordingly and then be able to go ahead and do that. And once you're connected and you're on board, next thing you want to suggest is being able to find out what IP access point were you able to go into. And to get the IP address of this phone, you go over into the first unit here, the status. And what you got is you got the network prompt up ahead, and you click on network, and sure enough, you got Wi-Fi IP access point, which is in my internal 10.10.0.28. And once you've got that 28 access point, what you can then do is really then gain access to many of the different internal access points within the phone. So now when you go and access within the phone, you're going to get a prompt like this. When you put in the IP access point on the prompt, you got 10.10.28. You're going to see something like admin. So I type in admin, which is the default configuration. Oops, actually, excuse me. And what you'll get is really the setup screen, which is what you see here. Okay, so this is the first setup. And for those who have actually deployed Fanvil endpoints, this screen is going to look very, very familiar to you. And when you get first pronounced on the system, one of the things I highly suggest in setting up your phone is going through a firmware upgrade. Of course, you can look at the software upgrade I have is 2.12.4.28. You could click on the upgrade tab here, and what you'll see is a software upgrade, and you could basically go to your select tab. And where do you get the actual upgrade? Well, I'm going to show you right now. You can click on and go to our Fanvil website here, which is our main headquarters website on fanvil.com. You can go to support and go to download center, which is where I'm going now. And in the download center, what you'll see is you'll see the firmware tab here, documentation and video. And I've already clicked here, the W66W, right here you will actually see the actual download point of many of the different firmware that we actually have. So you can download this onto your PC And then once you download it to your PC, you select the directory of where your PC is located at, put the documentation here, and then click upgrade, and then you can step aside and grab some coffee and come back, and then you're all set and done. So that's kind of what I have done in terms of the preliminary setup. And what I want to do here is being able to give you a quick access to that, to the Wi-Fi point. I said that many people always ask us, why don't you put function keys? And this is sort of a mouse key, this round key. And when you click on the left-hand side, you're actually going to see function keys that go from 1 to 8. And if you could tell, there are 2 separate windows. You can go that for the back, and you can go on the other side and really have access to function keys on the other side of the windows as well. And when you look on the side here, you'll notice that the PTT, you can actually have it so that when you push that button, you can actually broadcast a page out into many of the different phones that you can go ahead and connect accordingly. So these are a lot of the different functionalities that we have incorporated into this phone for your presentation as we speak. Now I'll go back into the presentation itself. Whoops, sorry about that. And here is the promotions that we've actually gone out. This is sort of a condensed thing on all of the different promotions that we have. And what I have here is really the middle 3, which here, if you decide, if you're already a customer and you buy X5Us or X6Us, you can buy 20 of them. And for an additional $20, we'll give you go ahead and get you a free sample of one of these Linkville phones. And if you bought 10 of one of our V-Series products that are listed here, for an additional $10, you can go ahead and get one of these phones as well. For those that are interested in getting a sample or an NFR demo, you can go ahead and reach out to Microcom, and being able to get one off at 50% off of MSRP for a maximum of 2 units. So you can go ahead and test that. For those who want to buy in volume and buy more, you can get really up to 5% off of SRP for anything 50 units or greater. And there's sort of a stepping function where the more you buy, the greater the rebates that you will get. So these are the type of promotions that we have moving forward. And hopefully, if there's any questions you have, feel free to reach out to Julie or myself. I'll be more than happy to go through these things quite in detail with you. So now with that said, I want to reserve this side for any questions and answers that people might have outside. So Julie, if you have any questions out there, feel free to let me know.
We do, Tommy. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation and all of that new information you just shared with us. And let's go to the first question and see what we got. Regarding tech support inquiries that one might have for Linkville, can we call somebody directly at Fanvil?
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, we have an SE who actually shares the same time base as the States. He's actually located on East Coast time. So the answer is yes. You can access that person via support at fanvil.com, or what you can do for a more direct thing, you can contact hector.zarita@fanvil.com. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to provide you that direct access. So yes, you can have on-site direct support from Fanvil or Linkville for that matter, to be able to help out your specific needs.
Thank you, Tommy. Next question here for you. What are the warranties, and if you touched on them, and any special treatments for the Linkville devices?
The Linkville devices fall under the same warranties as our phones. All of them start off with a 2-year warranty, and that starts off from where where you actually purchase it from our distributor. So once it lands in their hands, the time goes off, and then the product is warranted for 2 years to meet all of our specifications.
Perfect. Thank you, Tommy. Can you touch on how long the battery life of the W611W?
Sure, it is specified to last 9 hours of total talk time, so you can hold a conference call all day, or 200 hours of standby. So when it's not, the phone is actually designed to be in standby mode and have just a trickle charge to be able to listen to what's going on out there. but those are the two specs. The actual talk time is 9 hours, but standby is 200. So you can leave it on standby if you don't use the phone much, but once you turn it on, then it will handle up to 9 hours of talk.
Thanks, Tommy. Next question regarding the W611W. Does it have Bluetooth for Bluetooth headsets?
Yes, it does. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. This supports Bluetooth 5.0, and for those who want to keep the phone in their purse or in their bag, wherever you have it, you can actually have an earphone that you can have it hooked up with Bluetooth, so that you basically can have a touchless experience and being able to operate it. So if you happen to be on a forklift, you can just sort of press talk, and then you can go ahead and have, you don't even have to reach for your back and carry a different handset. You can just continue on doing what you're doing and have headset compatibility with it. So the answer is yes, it does have Bluetooth for headset pairing.
Excellent. Thank you, Tommy. Is the battery replaceable on the phone?
Yes, it is. The battery is a lithium-ion battery that we'll go ahead and make available to you if you need to go ahead and buy extras. But yes, the answer it is replaceable. When you buy it out of the box, the battery comes separate, and you'll actually see a lot of the proofing that we have to keep the battery and everything internally dry. So you'll see there's actually like a dual case, and you can pop it in. But replacing it should be very easy, because very often people are used to buying a spare battery when they're buying these things. So the answer is yes, you can change the battery on this.
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. You mentioned that it's for future use, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Is it already live, or will there be an update on the firmware? You may have covered this, but I wanted to ask it.
Oh no, we're actually shipping this product out today. When I say future use, as I illustrated on our roadmap slide, and for those who want a soft copy of our roadmap, feel free to reach out to Julie. She'll have a soft copy of this presentation for your reference, and if you want to do a deep dive in it, feel free to go ahead and do that. But on one of the slides, I illustrate a roadmap. And on that roadmap, we're not only going to come out with our debut product, which is this portable handset, but we're also going to come out with other push-to-talk devices, as well as Wi-Fi access points in the near future. So we're going to be broadening all of our wireless access points under the sub-brand Linkville for Fanvil.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Couple more questions. Will you be upgrading this phone to a touchscreen panel in the near future?
With this phone, it's going to be very difficult for a touchscreen, and the primary reason is because the screen on a portable handset is something that rests against the person's ears very often, and it won't know the difference between your earlobe versus your fingertip. So for now, I don't think there's a touchscreen for any portable device that I'm aware of, but I do know that if you're interested in a touchscreen, we do have touchscreen phones available on our desk phones. In fact, we have a large selection of touchscreen phones, but in terms of portability, this is meant for hands to go and reach out for your side pocket or your belt. And very often, much of the phone gets used just based on the limited real estate, but we do have lots of access in getting the different features, such as the soft keys that I just demonstrated a few minutes ago.
Excellent. Thank you, Tommy. Just a couple more questions. Regarding the ringtone, it says here, we kind of noticed that you can also change the ringtone on to your liking on the web GUI. Is this correct?
Yes. That is true. In fact, you can actually assign up to 4 separate SIP accounts within this phone. I think it's probably one of the most in the industry. And the good news, you can actually assign a different ringtone relative to every different account. So if you're answering maybe the phone for 4 separate people, or for perhaps even 4 separate businesses, you can go ahead and tell just by the ring of the tone on where that call is coming from. At least the receiving phone and where it's coming from.
Excellent. Thank you, Tommy. Last question here for you. Regarding going to the Fanvil website, it looks like we could find everything we need, from customer service to tech support to calling someone or even looking up a data sheet to see all the different, specific details on the different phones. Is that correct?
That's correct. In fact, when you look at the screen, let me just see here. In this thing, not only can you find the firmware that I'm showing now, you can actually grab whatever documentation as well as any accessible video clips that we might have related to all of our different products up and down moving forward. So the answer is yes. You can go ahead. And this is sort of a repository of a lot of our units. You could just go to our main site, go to support, and go to download center. And once you hit the download center, every user manual, data sheet, as well as the quick information guides that kind of give you a quick glance about the things you need to do to get this thing installed and updated are all available to you right from this single point.
Tommy, thank you so much for answering all of those questions for us today. And thank you for everyone attending. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep, or you can email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of these products mentioned or shown here today, please remember the webinar has been recorded and you can watch and see everything Tommy talked about today on YouTube. So please know that, and thank you again. Everybody, have a fantastic day. Tommy, thank you so much, my friend. Until next time, we shall do this again in the very near future for the latest.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Tommy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.